Welcome back to Chaos of Clarity. Meteorologist Bernie Rayno. It's been a while. Last time we spoke, what were we dealing with? We were dealing with the Arctic air coming in. I think we were talking, that's right. We were talking about right before Thanksgiving. And we were highlighting the possibility for another storm from the 7th to the 11th. We're worried about there to be cascading energy eventually back into the central part of the country, and that would form a storm somewhere along the East Coast. Well, it's not going to be the East Coast. Well, we talked about East Coast, spine of the Appalachian. I think it's more going to be along the spine of the Appalachian. I think the middle part of next week is things are going to get a little interesting again from the Appalachians across Pennsylvania and especially up into New England. Before I go to the rationale, I wanted to kind of show you the setup for next week, and let me show it to you. There it is. So here's what we're going to get. We're going to get a frontal boundary that stalls out here across the southeast, and this will be from our initial storm, and I'll show it to you Monday to Tuesday, and then you're going to get another piece of energy rotating around. Now, if it's just a full trough that goes like this, right, then what will happen is you're going to get this boundary that's stuck in here. You'll get a very weak wave along that boundary, and then it shoots out quickly, and you probably don't get a lot of snow with this. But if you get what I call a split flow, and I'll show you the difference, that is, you get a piece coming in here, and then you get another piece in the southern branch, and this piece of energy runs out ahead of your main trough. Then you're going to get a storm to form along that boundary, and then what does that do? It comes northward, right? And on the western side, you start getting some wet snow. Now, I don't think this is going to be a huge storm, let's say, from Pennsylvania on south. At this point, I don't think, you could be talking about a couple of inches here. The area that could get a few to several inches would probably be New York State and northern New England, because what would happen is this storm would be relatively weak, across the Carolinas. Then as it strengthens and you get some deeper cold air in here, this is where you would look at more snow. But nonetheless, I think you're going to be running for a risk of snow here. Mountains, coal fields of eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, across West Virginia, Pittsburgh, State College, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, probably not in Albany, certainly not the 95 corridor. It's going to be a soaking rain for you. Burlington in the Maine. I think this is going to be the area, and notice Wednesday and a Wednesday night. So that's kind of the area that I'm looking for as we head into next week. All right, let me show you the rationale for this. This is going to be a relatively short video compared to what I usually do. I usually run these a little long, but I want to get you in and out. But let me show you the rationale. And as always, I'm a 500 millibar guy. I'm old school 500 millibar guy. Let me show you the energy and how this is going to work here. All right, let me start this off on Sunday evening, and let me go full here so you can see this. Okay. So this upper low is going to be coming across Texas, and you're going to see this moving to the northeast. This is the European model. The American model, very much similar here. Watch what happens here. That energy runs to the north and east, and then I'm going to stop this Tuesday evening. All right. What this is going to end up doing is, as this energy runs to the north and east, this is going to cause a boundary to stall in the area that I showed you before. In fact, let me show you the surface panel for this, and you can see the rationale for this. So here's what it'll end up looking like here. You're going to get a boundary right in here Tuesday morning, Tuesday evening. So here's your initial storm. You see it moving. So I'm going to stop this Wednesday morning. You see what's going on here? Let's stop it Tuesday evening. So that initial piece goes through, and what you have a little bleeding of cold air here, mostly across the Midwest, but you have some colder air coming across New England. And what's happening is you have a boundary that's stalled here, right in here, all right? So it's mild here and cold here, so you have a boundary. And remember, these boundaries are locations where storms can form when you have additional energy coming in. So that's what the surface panel looks like. You have a stalled boundary, so now you have that temperature contrast, and this is a location where you're going to get a storm to form. The question is, do you have any energy coming south and eastward to form that storm? And the answer will be yes. I want to show you how this is going to look. Let's go back to Tuesday evening, and let me put this back on here. We'll put you on full screen. So here's the piece of energy. right in here. Now, as I talked about, if this comes through as a trough and it just comes through as one big trough, what you'll do is you'll get a storm to form here. It will be relatively weak. It'll run northeastward, and virtually you get no snow on the backside of it. But if you can get a little piece of energy and you get what we call a split flow, a northern branch and a southern branch, and more importantly, you get the southern branch to run out ahead of the main piece of energy in the northern branch, that's how you get a storm to form, right? And then it's that storm that runs northeastward, and on the backside, you get heavier precipitation. And the European model is showing that. All right, let me show it to you right here. Right there. You see what's going on here? Let me stop this. This is at 12 o'clock on Thursday. Here's your northern piece of energy. Here's your southern piece of energy in here. And you see this? You see how you have all of this red running out ahead of your main piece of energy. So this is the storm that'll form. Now, where will it form on the southeastern side of this, right? Like there. And watch what happens to it as we move forward here. So this is Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. See Wednesday evening. You see that piece? And then Wednesday midnight, and then Thursday. Now, it's a little piece. It doesn't look to me like it'll be strong, but nonetheless, you could see what happens as, let me go back to this, sorry about that. You could see what happens, Giselle, this energy runs out ahead of it like this, right in there. I have to stop doing that. So there, this is 7 a.m. Thursday. You see how this energy's running out ahead of it. So that's your storm. It's going to run up like this, and you get an injection of cold air, and then all of a sudden, you get some snow on the backside. Now, that's the European model. The American model, a little different here. You see how it just kind of has a full trough? You see this? Right here? You really don't have a piece of energy running out ahead of the main trough. It's just one piece of energy, and it comes eastward. You'll notice that. Notice the difference in them. So this is the American model. There's the Europe. Let's go to 7 a.m. Wednesday. See, European GFS. European GFS. See how the GFS is just kind of weak with it? Has just this one little trough coming eastward, while the European has a stronger piece out ahead of the main trough right in here. See that? See the difference? You've got this here. Here's your main piece, so you get a storm to come northward. So that would allow some snow on the backside. Let me show you the surface panel, and I think it'll become a little more clearer to you on the surface panel here. Let me put this on the full, and I'll go over it. So here's the European model. Watch what happens. Watch what happens as we go forward. First of all, we begin Wednesday morning, right? What do you have? You have, here's your stalled boundary, and then watch what happens. This is the European model right here. What it does is you form a storm. You see that storm right in here. No, that's this is the European, I'm sorry. Right in here. Watch this. You form the storm Wednesday morning. See how that? Here's your storm right here. It's relatively weak at first, 1,007 millibars. Let's go. That's Wednesday morning, Wednesday noon, Wednesday evening, Wednesday night. You'll notice as it comes northward, it starts out at a pressure Wednesday morning at 1,007 millibars. Look where it ends up. Wednesday noon, Wednesday evening, around midnight, all of a sudden you have a 998 low. Now, you have a few little pieces here, but certainly when you look at this, you can see how you're going to start getting some snow on the backside in here. Is it a big snow? Probably not. As I mentioned, I think across much of Pennsylvania, New York State, this is probably going to be 1 to 3 inches. If you get 3 to 6 inches, it's going to be on the northern side of a little farther north across New York State as the storm comes northward here. Again, a lot has yet to be determined with this, but I do feel that we're going to have a storm that forms here somewhere Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. It runs northward, and on the backside, you have enough cold air for snow. Is it a couple of inches? Is it several inches? Not sure yet. But even the American model shows this. You see how you get these little, see, in here. Same thing, shows the storm forming somewhere around the Appalachians, and it runs northward. Now, for those of you that are looking for a big storm, Let me show you how that could happen. It probably wouldn't be a big storm, but a bigger storm. Here's how that would happen. Here's how that would play out. And this is something to look to here. And you'd have to have the European solution, right? And what would end up happening is this. Let me go to Wednesday morning. We'll take this fool. So what would happen is you have the northern piece, pretty strong, but it's the southern piece. And it's a consolidated piece. It runs out or it digs deeper and comes up a little stronger. That is, instead of being sheared by this, it digs a little deeper. It's a little stronger piece. And then the next thing you know, you have a stronger storm farther south. And as it runs northward, it deepens. And then you end up getting several inches of snow in this area. So again, I think this is an area to be cognizant of. If you're living in the Appalachians, if you're living across western parts of Pennsylvania and New York State, this is something to keep an eye on. It's early in the game, but you can see how this can end up being a bigger storm. Now, it may just be something of nuisance here, but this is the snow threat area I'm going to start highlighting for everybody. Eastern Tennessee, up in the Maine. I'd watch this area here for some accumulating snow. Now, is it an inch or two? Is it 6, 7, or 8? I'm not sure. I think it would be more likely to get several inches of snow, New York State on north, and this area across Pennsylvania down into West Virginia. It's coding to an inch or two or 1 to 3. But let's keep an eye on this. It's early in the game, but certainly you see the pattern. That is, you have a trough cascading. You get a southern piece of energy and northern piece of energy. You do have a little bit of cold air bleeding in, especially across New England. And if you can get that piece to be a little stronger and run out a little ahead of that northern piece, then you would get the storm a little stronger. And as it runs northward, it brings down colder air, and then you get something. So let's keep an eye on this as we get in the Wednesday and Wednesday night of next week. I think it's going to be something pretty interesting. But quite honestly, if you're looking for snow, this is the only game in town for the most part here as we go over the next week. So let's see how this turns out. If you have any questions or comments, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at, or X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm at AccuReno.